Is it just me? Or is innately everybody that's stupid to follow the idiot to the mass media, inept ratings, chasing idiots every day, repeating the same thing over and over again redundantly? Bits and pieces of what's really going on in this country. And the reality is, and I'll keep redundantly saying it, and I'll reiterate my position, and I'll constantly badger that inept, ignorant, empty black hole of stupidity you call a brain until you people get it. You live in a stolen country. You raped, pillaged, massacred, slaughtered innocent people. You stole their rich mineral resources from their country. And you genocide them. Left them on poverty-stricken, alcohol-induced, drug-saturated reservations of religious zealots, terrorists, pirates, European disease, white filth of privilege that all you did all your life was steal from people, never earned anything. You stole and got wealthy off other countries' resources, rich mineral resources. And it's indicative why you have a criminal for a president right now. How is it possible that you can fire a person who's investigating you? And you're supposed to be this so ethical, moral country of justice. Have all these ethic committees, Senate committees, congressional committees, and you're nothing but a bunch of common thieves and pirates and barbaric heathens from Spain and England, royalty monarchy of perverted filth, pedophile, child molester, rapists, Sodom and Gomorrah, sexual deviants for decades and centuries. And yet still you want to talk about justice. Tell me about justice. Got a Scottish illegal immigrant filth. His whole family came over here and did nothing all their lives but rob and steal. Real estate fraud, racketeering, money laundering, working with the Russian mafia and Putin oligarchs, spying, back channel communication. And let's just put it this way. If I was a black man, I did an eighth of what this man has done. I'd be in prison and I wouldn't see daylight for the rest of my life. But yet and still, once again, white filth of stolen wealth can get away with anything. And that says what about your justice system? That it's incompetent and it's non-existent. Because a criminal like this Trump piece of filth could never exist in a country that actually truly upheld justice and laws of ethical and moral fiber, of civilized human beings. If you can pardon criminals, then you know better than the criminals themselves that you're pardoning. If you can say a person can hold a position that you're above the law, then there exists no laws. because no one can be above the law. Because if it's truly law, everybody falls under that law, never above it. You have this man's money source. You have this man's lawyer. You have people like Flynn. You have people like Manafort. You have people like Green. And his whole anarchy of criminals have left. And what's left, this so-called Mueller, and if Mueller had any balls, any true ethics, any true fiber of backbone, any existence of patriotism, bravery, you would put this piece of Scottish filth, historical criminal for decades and centuries, and his entire family in prison right now. Because everybody with good common sense who has actually intelligence between their ears instead of empty, inept space of ignorance and stupidity, know that you have this guy by the balls already. Especially after you invaded this moron of a lawyer, of a so-called lawyer, fixer. You raided his office. And you already had Jared of communicating with the Russians with his backdoor channel, funneling money, that charade. But you let that go. But average American people send to prison. So tell me that's not bullshit. Tell me all your judges from the Supreme Court, federal, local, and you mean to tell me nobody has the balls or guts to stand up against this Russian mafia goat, this debt whore? The Russian mafia bought all his debt. And you know that to be a fact. That everything that he ever got into was a failure. That nothing he ever done was a success. It's all was a facade, an illusion. Calling himself a billionaire. True billionaires don't have debt. True billionaires don't defraud banks. True billionaires' businesses don't fall apart. True billionaires, if they invest in anything, it is solvent. And it remains solvent. Because they're smart enough to know how to handle their business. And if you're supposed to be some kind of deal maker, your deals don't fail. And you don't defraud people and not pay them. And not pay your creditors. And not pay your taxes. Because all of these characteristics means one thing. You're a criminal. Because everything that you have or possess, you steal. Just like your criminal, pirate, terrorist forefathers. Everything that you inherently are supposed to possess is done through theft and genocide and massacring, slaughtering people. Just like you're doing in the Middle East, Africa, Yemen, all around the world. While you have 150 individual wars going on in other countries all over the world. You have the greatest military infrastructure because you're warmongering whores of theft and genocide. That's just facts. And now you have a president who's a criminal, was a known criminal before he even got, and don't call it elected. Nobody elected his ass. You selected him to be. It's like you select all your presidents, slave owners, into your slave-built White House. So if anything was honorable, anything was decent, you wouldn't have slaves building it. You'd build it your damn self. So it's indicative of how stupid you people in America are. That you see criminal activity for decades and centuries since you invaded this country. And just put it out of your mind like it never happened. And you can watch it on TV every day, 24/7, 365. The criminal activity of your terrorist politicians, Democrat and Republican alike. Independent, Green Party, whatever the party you're talking about, you're all criminals of the same infrastructure. If it has anything to do with this terrorist regime, White House, or Washington, D.C., or Capitol Hill, or Supreme Court, or your Congress, or your legislative party, or your House of Representatives who don't represent shit, but represent the 1% extreme wealthy and elite. Fascist, capitalist, bureaucratic, plutocratic oligarchs of theft and genocide. So let's all put that to rest and tell you empty-minded monkeys that you have air between these ears, get it, but you never will. Because if you never got it through decades and centuries, you're never going to get it. Why this criminal Scottish piece of shit exists in the first place? Because they knew you were going to embrace it. They knew you were going to embrace him. They knew it. This false pretense, oh, I'm not a politician, I represent the people. A criminal oligarch bought by Russia is going to represent who? You represent your damn self. You don't represent nobody in a stolen America. You can't represent anybody in a stolen America. Because it's a criminal infrastructure in the first place. From the time that you set your foot on this lands of the Americas and you invaded this country, you didn't discover shit. You invaded. You invaded innocent people. You slaughtered them, massacred, killed them, genocide them, left them to die. Men, women, and innocent children. So it's nothing you can talk about in Washington, D.C., Capitol Hill. That's legit. It's all a hoax. You talk about fake news? How about a fake White House and Capitol Hill for decades and centuries? How about reporting that? A man all his life stole. Has a syndicate of real estate thugs and a bunch of goons going out stealing money from this source and that source and saying that it's yours. Taking money from your so-called enemy, Russia. But that's okay. Because millions and millions and billions of dollars can buy off politicians, can buy off judges, can buy off the FBI, CIA, NSA, MI5, MI6. You got enough money, you can buy off anybody. Now, is that law? Can law be bought? Can law be compromised? No. True law cannot be compromised. And true law cannot be bought by anyone, regardless who you are. So let's be honest. You never had law. And it's the lawless cesspool and swamp you call America. And you can't call it America. It's a stolen America. True America lives on reservations and doesn't have a voice. It's time. if anybody has any degree of intelligence, if anybody has any degree of empathy, passion, conviction, of honesty and truth,